Here, welcome to the Art and Susie Show. Another episode of the Art and Susie Show this week. My name is Suzanne and...
Art, and you can't bounce the table.
Hey, look, we don't have any fancy equipment here. We just want to share our hearts with you. So thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe. All right, so Art, we have been dancing around the subject for weeks. For weeks and weeks and weeks, but it keeps coming up in conversations, and that is
Privilege.
you can't say it. Oh my God, he can't even say it. White privilege.
White. I was doing this. Privilege.
Oh, you got that. You got that going for you. Anyway.
You ain't right. You ain't right.
Okay, so today, I'm sorry. Je suis désolé. Yeah, this week we're going to talk about white privilege, and we are so excited because we're going to hear it from the horse's mouth himself.
Hey, wait.
So Art's going to give you a full-blown update on what white privilege is.
I'm going to give you a story. I probably have more than one. This is probably the best example I can think of how me, understand.
Say we.
We understand white privilege, which is a popular term in the media these days, and it's got lots of different meanings to lots of different people.
So we'll hear your take on his take on white privilege, and then my take on white privilege.
I'm not saying ours is the take, but we're going to give you what our take is.
As an interracial couple.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's a conversation we have often. But this goes way back.
Yeah, we were probably married 7 years.
We go to my parents' house for dinner. It's a holiday. So my daughter's there with her boyfriend at the time. We have a very nice dinner. Dinner is over. They had driven separately. So they're up the road.
She called and said that she was stopped by the police.
I know the town in which I grew up, which is where she had been pulled over, and I knew the passenger that she had in her car. She tells me why she got pulled over, and it was for a
broken tail light.
Legal, okay. Reason to pull you over, okay, yeah, I get it. But knowing where I grew up, I was pissed because I knew better.
Okay.
Because in her passenger seat, now my daughter is she's a little lighter skinned, but the passenger she had in the seat next to her was this big, dark, black guy. I mean, dark. Mm-hmm. And that's what set me off. Mm-hmm. Could I prove that's why she got pulled over? Probably not. But knowing what I know, sometimes there's things you just know. I was livid. So I pull out of my parents' street. We drive up the road. And I mean, she hadn't gotten it had probably been a mile, if that. So I pull up in front of the car. I walk past her car, and I walk back to the police car with its sirens flashing behind her. And I walk up to the passenger door of the police car, and I knock on the window. Not even thinking about it. He rolls down the window, obviously, and tells me, short of threatening me, to get back from the car and to step back. So I told him, I said, that is my daughter in the car, and I asked him if there was a problem, and he once again told me that you need to step back from the vehicle, and I did. So I came to my senses. So I walk back to our car, and I sit, and I wait. I wasn't going anywhere until this had passed. So, long story short, she gets off with a warning. Whether or not that was because of me, I don't know. But as we've talked about this subject, it dawned on me, white privilege is the fact that I did that with, number one, without thinking, but number two, without any notion of, I'm going to walk up to that car and get shot.
None.
It wasn't. Now, is that a white privilege? Is that where I grew up privilege? Is it all of that stuff? But it helps me to understand what it means to say white privilege, because I just didn't have to think about it.
Did not have to give it
I don't
a
have to
thought.
worry about driving down the road, getting pulled
While
over
black.
because of the color of my skin. I go into a store, I don't worry about being followed around the store because of the color of my skin. There's these things that we can take for granted.
Oh, man.
And to me, that's what the privilege is. So it's not economic in the sense, oh, I get better opportunities. Now, that may be true, but I know there are white people who live in really poor communities where that's not necessarily the case. So to me, it's not necessarily economic. It's not that I'm given more stuff.
It just means that you have a life where you don't have to give a second thought to anything but what you see in front of you, which is everything is as it is. Of course, there's going to be situations where people prejudge other people for whatever the reason, but you don't wake up in the morning and worry about a cop driving behind you and shaking in your boots. You just have the opportunity to live. You don't worry about when you go on a job and somebody sees your name as to whether they're going to hire you or not because of the name that you have. Or walk into a room and be self-conscious because you're the only one in there that is black. You don't do that. And there may be situations where the circumstances are flipped, but for the most part, this world supports and upholds the majority, okay? And especially those of you who are at the top of the food chain. The top, I say, of the food chain. I believe that there is a need for us to be empathetic to one another and to really think about what it means to be in the shoe of the other person. And this is by no means a free card for mediocrity. Absolutely not. However, it is real. It is very real. I do remember also a situation where I think it was Christmas time. I had to return something to the store. Here is Mr. White Privilege without a bag to walk into the store. I was horrified. I said, wait a minute, where are you going? I'm going to return it. He had the receipt, but he had no bag. He was getting ready. I said, no. You will not do that with me walking next to you. They're going to think I stole it. I mean, this is how we think. We think this because this is what happens. You are usually on the suspect list until you're proven innocent. Now, what we tend to see happening is most of our white counterparts don't even see it that way.
Yeah, the way I always tell that, in my repertoire, we've got a series of things that have happened over time, although it hasn't happened as much. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But these series of events, first of all, woke me up to the fact that this is kind of odd. Yeah. But when I would tell other white people that I knew about this, taken individually, they would say, well, yeah, no, I'm sure he had a reason. I'm sure they were, there's some...
Couldn't be because of it.
It was a specific reason why they did whatever it was, with the police or with security or with, authorities. So taken in isolation, they say, no, there's laws and which may be true, but when I would add all of these things up and I would tell people, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yeah.
Over time, when you look at that cumulatively, you take a step back and you think, that's really, really strange. Because these are things that, and again, maybe this is the white privilege, just because they don't happen to me.
Right.
It's not in my realm of experience. But
right. Frame of reference.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Being with me.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know, maybe we'll share these at some point, but with you being with me, it made me stop and realize that what is the common factor here is either you and me or you in particular And it is really, really odd.
Yes.
So the privilege to me is I've never experienced that. I've never even given it a second thought. It's not
Right.
even in my brain as to something that could potentially happen.
Right, right.
So I think it's a matter of just awareness. It's not something you could pin, and it wouldn't hold up in a court of law.
No.
But it happens.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that it happens. And I think that's where people go wrong, is instead of listening and trying to understand, it's a complete outright denial.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sure they had a reason to X.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of invalidates the experience.
Hey, but you know what? On the upside, we know that we've been placed together for whatever the reason. We know that it's greater than us. And we know that our relationship is designed to teach others what it means to come together. I remember at a particular political point in our country, it seemed that there was an upheaval of racism that was rekindled. And I do remember Artie saying to me, "Come on, baby, let's go out there and show some love." And, it hit me in a really, really profound way, because whether we want to or not, we're being watched, and we are an example of the difference. Polar opposite. We consider it a privilege. I like him a lot.
So?
Yeah, I do. And I can't say when I see him I don't see color. Liar. I do see color. I see his color. Whatever that is. What is it? Peach?
Peach. Pink. Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. I see his color.
Season.
And I love his color. Like mine more, but because I don't have to tan. Okay, but I do see his color, and I love the fact that it's different to mine. That we come together as polar opposites, and we love each other. And I said that already.
So cute.
But we do. And so with that, I want you to just think about not being afraid. Not being afraid to invade the space of people you don't know. And going up to them and being just as friendly, taking the chip off of our shoulders, and really coming together and connecting as human beings. So, anyway,
So cute.
that is that. Let's stay strong, stay together, and stay in love.
We'll catch you next time.